All right. Hey, good morning, everyone. Coming to you here from the dining room table. So part of the COVID economy right now. Kids are at home. We're all working from home. Jeannie's got work to do, so I'm moving to my next remote office. So and a little too chilly to be outside. So yeah, just kind of want to just jump into a quick kind of update on the market. I want to talk about kind of the theme of this week of this video is opportunities, right? There are a lot of opportunities we're seeing in this market right now, and we'll kind of get to that here in a second. But for now, let's just sort of jump in with the usual kind of lead off of, hey, Jeff, how's the market? All right, we show this one every week. It's lockbox activity. Every time Jeannie and I open up a door for somebody, or it triggers an entry or other agents and so forth. I showed this last week and it was down pretty significantly from the fires and such. This is on a 1 week lag. No big surprise. We're back up 9%. I think it was down 20 something percent last week. So back up 9%, showing that still a pretty healthy market, even though we are entering the latter parts of September. Still is tends to be a pretty busy month for us here in the business. So Portland's hanging in there quite well. Across the river in Vancouver, a similar story. They did not tick down as hard due to the fires. They looked probably slightly fresher air, but they just didn't dip as hard. But they are also up week over week. So that's the general market, right? And we've talked prices, we've talked all kinds of rates and all kinds of fun stuff. Big takeaways right now as we talk about opportunities is it is going to center around mortgage rates. They are at historic lows. We've got a lot of tailwinds from the Great Recession. There's a lot of pent-up demand. Now we've got COVID. People don't want to work in concentrated areas. There's an exodus to the suburbs, and this is happening everywhere. This is not just here in the United States, not just here in Portland. I actually had a good friend of mine send me some articles earlier this morning related to, I believe it was Toronto, and it was showing large numbers of available condos available for lease versus a much smaller number of condos available for sale, followed by a significantly smaller number of I forget the exact terminology, but basically it's kind of homes in the downtown Toronto area that are like 3 stories or less. And the kind of the takeaway I have from that is the rental market there is doing fine in terms of the available units of these condos, and they're probably all in high up buildings versus those that are easily accessible from whether it's elevators, stairs, multiple points of egress to the actual unit. Those are probably being snatched up a little bit faster. Probably a couple of things in Toronto. You're seeing people wanting to get away from that downtown cluster because they don't have to be there anymore. And those that are staying, that bigger demand ones, are the ones that where people can get away from the elevators and have multiple ways to get in and out of the building without interacting with a lot of people in a dense, close-in environment. So I just thought it was kind of an interesting little side note that popped up this morning. So John, thanks for sending that over to me. It's kind of interesting to look at. So we know rates are low. They're staying low. We talked, I think, last week, 2 weeks ago, they're going to stay low probably for the next 3 years. So this market that's been borderline crazy, I think it's probably just going to stay crazy for the next 3 years. So let's see what happens. In the meantime, one of our lending partners put out this graph over the weekend, basically showing the volume of purchase applications. So if you look back at the big V-level trough, yep, that's your COVID outbreak. And you look at where we are now compared to going back, probably 10 years ago on this graph, purchase application volume is up through the roof. So a little bit of this is going to kind of go back to your Great Recession time frame. I wish this was on a longer throwback so we can kind of get back to see where this volume level was, say, going back even to year 2000. All right, let's take out the run up to the recession and let's just kind of see of a normalized basis, but we'll take what we can get. But basically what you're seeing is with rates low, people are capitalizing on this, recognizing if you're a first-time buyer, it's never going to be this cheap to buy a house again from a mortgage standpoint. If you are an existing homeowner and you're looking to do whether this, in this case, not a refinance here, but you want to move up in the world, or even those who are just looking to downsize but still carry a mortgage balance, again, it's never going to be cheaper for you to do this at this point in time. So mortgage volume is blowing up across the board. And we're seeing that now with rates being low, is pushing that demand for homes even higher. And you hear this from me all the time: supply, demand. What happens? Prices just go ballistic. So we're seeing articles left and right, and these are all national headlines, but I just share that this time I'm going to care about national simply because it reinforces what we're seeing here locally. And that is not just a Northwest thing. It's not just a Portland thing. This is national. And then, of course, the entry discussion of Toronto. This is international. This is a global phenomenon. We're seeing it in a lot of parts of the world of just pent-up demand. So here, we're at a 14-year high for the sale of existing homes. And of course, my little thing I put the red arrow to is an eye chart at this point, so I can't even read it on my side here. But pretty much it's pointing to the sales are surging in all markets across the country. So it's not just the West Coast, it's not just the New England states, or it's everywhere. So you hear people want to talk about, oh, we live in a hot market. Well, we all do. There's a few probably in Tornado Alley that are probably not doing great, probably because they just never do great. But for the most part, this is supply and demand. Rates are low, so the demand goes high. There's not enough homes. The Great Recession gutted that for probably most markets in the country. So prices, prices are going to respond accordingly based off that diminished supply. So this other article came out that I saw that was kind of what the economists are predicting for unemployment, multifamily starts, home prices, et cetera. And unemployment, kind of the good news, bad news here of this article from, and I forget, I think it was 100 economists across the country were polled. And sort of their synopsis here was they fully expect, the good news is they fully expect unemployment to go back to more normal levels. That's great news. The bad news is, I think it says basically by the end of this decade. Great. So, and we're in 2020. So only 9 more years to go, I guess. So, I guess they look at it sort of a long-term picture of at least there's a path to recovery. The article didn't seem to be overly concerned about time frames. It is what it is. And so I guess we're fine. Multifamily starts, we're not going to get into that. It's just more apartment building stuff. But for home prices, they did predict continuation of increased prices throughout the balance of the year. And even for next year at a higher level than they previously had expected. They had expected, I think, slightly less than a 1%, and that's on a national average. And they upped that to closer to like a 3.5%, I believe. And again, that's national, so factor in your undesirable markets, those that are still oversupplied or demand falling. And it still washes out to a 3-ish% increase. So you go hyper local specific places like here in Portland, where demand is significantly higher. Our inventory is a joke, probably even more so compared to national averages. And I think our prices are just going to be kind of going crazy. So as we talked about, then there's the opportunities, and so let's talk about what I mean when I say the opportunity. You have the rates are low, you got prices are going sky high. We see the purchase applications are out there left and right. It is tougher, more stringent to get a mortgage these days, but it is possible. So let's talk about your opportunities. And what's the opportunity? It's that opportunity to build wealth through actually owning a house. So home equity rates are surging, and this is really kind of more of just this year's supply and demand, right? The mortgage rates are low, so the demand for houses, because it's become a little bit cheaper, that demand goes high. People want to get out of either small or no backyards. They don't have a home office. The current house is not going to work for the post-COVID world, or whatever else is driving the demand, whether it's pent up from the Great Recession, on and on and on. So that demand is there. The supply is extremely limited. I think we ended last month. It was a 1.3 months of inventory, which is just a joke. And so the values of homes are skyrocketing. Meaning, if you're owning a house, that homeowner equity, meaning the difference between what your home is worth and what you owe on that house, those values are going vertical at this point. So people are making a lot of money by simply owning a home and staying put. So then you have opportunities now, say for first-time buyers. If you want to come in and buy a house, maybe you don't have that 20% down, so you're going to pay the PMI insurance, be a little added fee of $100, $200 a month, whatever it is. But with prices accelerating at the pace that they are, it probably is not long before you can gain that 20% equity value in your home, shed that PMI, now you own a house, and you did it the easy way. So there's that article, and then it's the same kind of thing. These are all national headlines. And the prices just keep climbing. 14% for the median price. 14 is up 14% over last year. So that's the median base. For us on the average in Portland, average home price. I don't like hear about medians, but the average home price here, it was, I think we're double digits still. So it's, it's frothy. So I can already hear some of the naysayers kind of chiming in saying, okay, great. So we're at 14% year over year. This is an overheated market. It's the bubble 2.0. Here we go again. And all I can tell you is you're just not paying attention if that's your argument. We don't have the supply. We have the demand. Mortgage rates are low. Now, will the prices go up at this level forever? Of course not. They're going to fluctuate. We'll see some ups. We'll see some downs. There's nothing coming that's driving the same type of impact that we saw leading up to the Great Recession, right? We don't have cheap, easy debt. Well, actually, that's cheap debt. We don't have the easy debt. There's still a lot of structure around the mortgage world. We're not seeing ninja loans, the no income, no job loans. It turns out you actually have to have a job to get a mortgage this time around. You have to actually prove it. And there's a lot of hurdles, a lot of obstacles in the way. So what we're seeing, I think, is just sort of the shock value of mortgage rates are low because now we've got COVID has pushed the world to a little bit of an economic tailspin. At least that's going to pin the rates low. Rates have been getting pushed down anyway. So with those low rates, now you got higher demand, lower supply. Prices are going to go up. Now they're going to fluctuate. We know that we're going to see dips, we're going to see declines. But let's talk about the notion of it being overheated, or this is like an exacerbated bubble scenario, right? We know this is nothing like 2008. If you're still hoping for that level of decline, like we saw in the Great Recession, and then you're going to buy, I'm just telling you that it's a loser's bet. It's not going to work out for you. So let's talk about kind of long term. I've shared this graph before. It's one of my own creations, and sorry, it's one of my favorite ones. This goes back to January 2000. In this case, I think I'm showing every August going back to 2000. This one, the blue bars, the inventory, the golden line, that's your average sales price over arguably a 20-year run. So take out the dip from the Great Recession. What you did see in there is an 8-year trough where home prices are negative, and we're now at our historic high, $511,000 on average in the Portland metro area. So take out kind of the big dips, and you see some little downward fluctuations, little ticks here and there, and kind of going month to month, flatten some of these little curves out. But you do see declines, but on average, things just cost more over time. That's the reality. Lumber prices are up. We've talked about this. Average home price is now $17,000 more expensive just because of lumber prices. Whether it's tariffs, shortages of supply of lumber. Now we've had fires in the Northwest. Prices just grow over time. So factor everything out. Yeah, prices are going to keep rising. And now it's more of take something that just is going to happen anytime organically. And now throw gas on that fire with low mortgage rates and not enough homes. So this is where I talk about opportunities. The opportunity is own a house, right? In this case, with low mortgage rates, let's say you already own one and it's not your ideal. This is your time to stretch. This is your time to find what is that goal house you have, whether it's the quote unquote dream house, or it's the house on water, or it's a place out in the mountains, or it's whatever the story is. This is your time, right? And prices are still going to climb. You're going to pay for the home, but you're probably going to make more money when you sell your home. This is time to capitalize. If you're a first-time buyer, great time to jump in and actually start building real wealth for yourself long-term. A couple last things. I just shared this one because this one strikes me as comical as we kind of look at what's happening with prices in and around the Portland area. The Oregonian from time to time likes to share articles about, hey, here's some great little houses for sale. Go check them out. And they do some that are like, hey, here, check out these mega mansions or these super cool craftsmen in Irvington or Laurelhurst. And it's fun, for if you want to go look at those. This is just your bread and butter. Here's your Portland homes that are 4 bedrooms, under $700,000. Our prices have got so high, the Oregonians now having to talk about up to $700,000. And if you go look at the article, these aren't amazing killer homes. They are just homes in different unique areas that are driving the prices up. But they're just average homes. But that's what's happening in the Portland pricing area now. Is prices are getting so high that for them to show a fun mix of good, typical Portland houses, they're having to go to $700,000 to make it happen. Go back probably not that far ago, and this was probably a $400,000 article. So we're up to 700 now. So just struck me as humorous. Anyway, so as we go back to opportunities, we're going to talk more about this next week. I'm going to have somebody joining me here on here. We're going to talk strategies about first-time buyers. I saw this graphic pop up that the average down payment for home is actually 6% for down payments for first-time buyers. It's not 20%. I think the whole synopsis of this article was that there's the general misconception that you have to have 20% down to buy a house, and you simply don't. There's a lot of ways you can do it, whether it's 10%, 7%, 6% on average, 3.5%, and there's ways you can do it with 0% down. And I've seen people actually buy a house and make money. So we're going to talk about that more in a deep dive next week. So if you're curious about whether it's first time buying or doing mortgages with less than that ideal 20% down, 20% is just to get rid of that PMI, private mortgage insurance premium, then yeah, join us next week and we'll do a deep dive and hope it helps. So there you go. Enjoy the rest of your week. The sun is shining. I think we've got at least one more good week of weather. We'll see how long this holds out before we're back to the rain. So hope you guys have a good week. If anybody has any questions, feel free to shoot Jeannie and I a note, post it in the comments, etc., and we'll get back to you. Have a good week. Thanks.